Hey, everybody. I wanted to take just a minute to walk you through Project 4, which is, of course, our proposal. So the context here follows the sort of arc of the course, and I mentioned this in my lecture several times, right? We practiced rhetorical analysis kind of on its own. And then we conceived of our own trajectory, right? Each of you, right? I want to be a pilot. I want to be a programmer. I want to be a project manager for tech writers. And you've written your memo, your outreach, and your resume sort of in that direction. You've been hired in the company, right? You've created an infographic in that context, and so we're creating, right, some continuity there. And then finally, you've been bumped up in the corporation or in the company, right? You've been given a project that takes a little bit more, in some ways, just a little bit more effort, a little bit more thought, and that's where we are now. So I want you to conceive of the proposal in the sort of this arc that we've already created in the class. So you have in this context already done, as I said, the data visualization, but now it's time to go bigger. It's time for you to generate a proposal inside our company for something you want to get done. Again, I recommend keeping this project very much in line with your professional interests. If you're struggling to think of a project you could propose, just reach out to me and we can visit about it. A lot of it's going to come down to how well you know your discipline, but I can absolutely help you ask the right questions to arrive at a proposal if you need to visit, and I'm happy to do that. So this assignment's designed to help you gather the materials, resources, and rhetorical strategies you need to create a successful proposal. The function of the proposal is to offer a comprehensive and detailed account of the nature of the problem you're solving, your ability to solve it, and the benefits of solving it, as well as the techniques, methods, and resources you'll need to successfully accomplish your goal, not to mention the methods by which you'll measure your success. This proposal should be 7 to 8 pages long and should attain to the following organizational parameters. Now, please note that each number below corresponds to a section header for the proposal, and the length recommendations here are just guidance. They're not set in stone. So you start out with an outline. In that outline, you kind of give us a sense of your topic, the driving question, your audience, and the kind of guiding research questions. Then we get the executive summary, which I talked about a lot in the lecture. It's a quick overview of what the whole proposal is going to do, designed to be both concise and super complete. So the executive of your, of your organization doesn't have to read the whole thing, essentially, right? Executives are, notoriously too busy. And so an executive summary is designed to be able to save them time and give them a sense of what the whole project will look like. So here you've got a summary of the proposal, thesis, proposition, problem to be solved, methods, and benefits. And again, this should be written as though an executive could move through it really, really quickly. Then you get into the introduction, where we offer a broad look at the problem and show familiarity with the organization and general problem. And then you position your team to kind of best solve it, right? You position yourself or your team as the right person or people to solve the problem. And then you put the problem into some kind of business or organizational context. And that's just a kind of a small moment. And then that moment opens up in the second section where you're stating your problem or your opportunity. And I say problem/opportunity because I think you have to be careful when you're selling something like this to, say, a community nonprofit. You don't want to criticize their organization in such a way that they get insulted. And so sometimes an opportunity is language that's a little more, I don't know, easier for someone to take, especially if you're dealing with a new client for the first time. Here you demonstrate your ability to understand the problem's magnitude, like who the stakeholders are and what specific elements are involved. You're also establishing, by showing that, you're establishing your credibility, you're establishing urgency around addressing the problem, you're identifying the current situation to be addressed, right? You're generating buy-in by doing this. You're including relevant data, and you are applying a kind of general theory, this is a proposal, to your local context, right? In the case, your theory should consist of an approach to the specific problem you've outlined and a justification of why that approach, as opposed to others, is the best choice for you to get the job done. Then you're going to offer us the objectives project plan, where you're answering the question, what does this solved project or problem, sorry, what does the solved problem look like? Where do we want to get to, right? You want to make explicit how your group's going to fix the problem. You want to make explicit why you're handling the problem, why you're handling the problem, right? Why you're the right person for it. Again, this is a little reminder of the section that came before. And then I think this is the objectives part that's really important, is you're offering specific implementation steps, 1 to 5 steps by and through which you will achieve your goal. And then you follow this up with a sense of metrics. How will you quantify the value of your solution? How will you prove that you've actually solved the problem? And here I recommend being as quantitative as possible. And so by solving this problem, we'll save, each individual tech writer at this company 5 hours of work a week, which translates to, I don't know, $5 million a year, whatever that is. Then you move into your method or activities. And here you ask the question, how are you going to get your objectives? How will you get the objectives you've just stated sort of solved or handled? Then you propose what your project looks like. You give a detailed plan for delivering the solution you've outlined. You offer your methodology, which includes information about how or what you've learned from the interview. And there is not an interview in this case. If we had an extra week in this class, I would build an interview into it. But assume in this case that you've interviewed the stakeholder here, right? And that's just going to depend on, in our kind of artificial context here, what you know about this company. Yeah. Address alternative solutions, but propose a single step forward. And this section becomes your implementation plan, right? So if the executive wants to find out, oh, how the heck are they going to get this done? This is the place where they go. Then you move to resources, and this is human resources and other resources. So what are you going to need to accomplish your goal? How many hours, computer time, technology, financial costs? And what does the management structure of the project look like? I'm assuming, we're kind of pretending we're in a group here, but it doesn't have to be that way. But who in the group's responsible for what, or what are you responsible for doing as an individual in this case? Then you offer a schedule that is a realistic timeline, and you offer adequate detail there about the steps. Then a discussion of benefits or a justification. This integrates, what you know about your company, and it helps you elaborate the benefits of your approach. And it explains why your approach is taken and not a different approach. And finally, you offer maybe a paragraph or so conclusion that summarizes your main thesis, the project plan, the discussion of benefits, and uses only 1 or 2 sentences for each. So in some ways, a proposal, there's kind of a lot to it, but each section is very precise in what it needs, and it builds to this kind of large rhetorical moment where you're really persuading the client that, hey, this is the problem, this is the way to solve it, and this is how we're going to sort of, chop up, managing to get that done. So, all right, holler with questions as always. I'm always happy to visit.